I'm Palmer Johnson. I'm a divorce attorney in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and welcome to my video series where I answer frequently asked questions I get from my family law clients. And today's question is, what could I do to save money in my divorce? So if funds, and for many people, a real consideration when you're splitting up households, especially when there's minor children involved, but even without kids, adjusting your lifestyle with um, going back to one income if you were multi-income, and just the cost of hiring an attorney, especially if that's something that you ordinarily have not done, and this may be one of your first experiences needing legal counsel, can be kind of daunting. So what can you do in your divorce action to put yourself in the best position and also try to keep your legal fees um, to a minimum? Well, the first thing is maybe a little bit out of your hands entirely, but would be um, you know being in a position to speak to your ex and talk about what you want to do, um, and coming to an agreement and being able to communicate that to your attorney, who can then draft documents that reflect that, is certainly going to be the path of least resistance and keep your legal fees to a minimum. The other thing that you can do, though, even if it's a contested matter, is to really listen to your attorney and provide them with all of the things that they need to further your case so that they can obtain the documents that they need and organize them and be ready to move forward with your case much more quickly. I think that's the biggest thing clients um, don't do, or they don't hear, or they don't understand why. Um, you know, Perhaps a lot of times they'll get to the discovery phase of a case and get very hung up on, why am I being asked to produce these documents that are not actually very difficult to obtain, but it's this like weird mental block of, I don't understand and I'm not doing this, and is the other side having to do this, and I just cannot be bothered to do this, or the other side can get this information. Maybe they can, and maybe if they're the only one who could obtain it, fine, they should. But oftentimes both parties are just as in just as easy of a position. So just simply providing the documents that are requested. If it's not relevant or it should be protected, you can rely on your attorney to discuss that with you. But oftentimes they might need to review those documents before they could even make that assertion. So um, getting all of the documents and information together that your attorneys ask you for without um, the requirement of a bunch of hand-holding or explanation about why each and everything needs to be provided. If you are given written interrogatories and asked to provide kind of a narrative response back so that your counsel can review that to prepare the discovery responses, the quicker and easier and more organized that you can provide that information, the less expensive your case will be. It's kind of mind-blowing if you look at a lot of contested divorces that get rather expensive for both parties. And if you get really into the weeds of some of the billing, it's um, multiple phone calls to a client to talk about the same issue, multiple phone calls from a client to talk about the same issue, calls from clients that are marginally helpful to their case. That's the other thing. And you don't always know what is most relevant to your case, but I always tell clients that you will hear from me before a hearing, and I will tell you what I need, and I will um, take the information that you've given me and tell you what's most relevant, so that we're not off in the weeds. And Also, we'll kind of cut a client off sometimes and say, hold on, that's not particularly relevant to what we're doing here. And I don't think you want to pay me to listen to you talk about that, because I don't need to know about all that. Sometimes it really comes down to the old, really, I'm not your friend, I'm your lawyer. You should call your friend to talk about that. The other thing is constant just acrimony, just childish behavior, quite honestly, with the other side, just little back and forth, tit for tat stuff. It will absolutely create a black hole for legal fees if you're and if you can't afford to do that stuff, then you should then be aware of it and try to cut it out. And again, at the certainly if the other side is dangerous or we're talking about domestic violence issues or things that could be much more nuanced. And I'm not advising anybody to put themselves in harm's way, but there's a practicalness to this. You were married to this person. Yes, maybe they're kind of hard to deal with. You're angry with them, but pick up the phone and call them and say, okay, look, this is costing us a lot of money right now. Let's come to some agreements about some things. Let's agree to play by some ground rules, especially if there are kids involved. Let's do all these things so that we can spend money on our kids and the things that are important to us and not fighting with each other on things that at the end of the day are ultimately going to not mean a thing to us in 5 or 7 years. Arguing about, um, you were 5 minutes late to pick up or drop off with the kids, and your time should be reduced, because of this, because everything needs to be punitive. Hopefully, in 5 years won't matter to you because you'll have moved on and kind of regain your common sense. So the things that you can do, the number one thing that you can do though is provide your attorney with the documentation that they ask you for when they ask you for it in the format and most organized way possible. Uh, that that combined with some cooperation on your part and which I think will ultimately lead to some cooperation on the other part is the best way that you can come to an agreement that is both fair and equitable to both parties in the best interest of your children and the best interest of your pocketbook. So if you have questions about your own divorce situation or are contemplating divorce here in Oklahoma, please reach out to me at moms.law. I'd be happy to set up a low-cost consultation to discuss the specifics of your case with you.